In this video, we're going to talk about how to track SEO, some of the reports that you should be looking at on a regular basis. So most people look at SEO traffic, so clearly that's something that you want to focus on, but that's just the basics. You also want to make sure that you're focusing on SEO traffic year over year. It's sometimes surprising how a lot of companies only focus on the current year and how traffic has lifted over prior months. And because of seasonality, we want to make sure that we think about things year over year. Now, because PBS is an organization that your traffic is going to fluctuate dramatically based on shows and when shows launch and how popular some are versus others in a given year, one of the things you are definitely going to have to be doing is maybe adjusting your lines. So year over year exactly may not be the best way for you to be tracking your traffic. You guys may actually need to track things from the perspective of year over year, but aligning 4 weeks before launch, 3 weeks before launch, 2 weeks before launch, at launch of the program. So that would be in essence the premiere, or if it's a one-time event when it actually launched, and then track 1 week after launch, 2 weeks after launch, 3 weeks after launch. Well, we suggest in this diagram 5 weeks out and 6 weeks after. What you actually want to start doing is looking at your data to find out when someone's actually starting their search for this particular program. So it may actually be 12 weeks out that people are starting to search. And so what you'll want to do is actually start your tracking for any given program, however many weeks out that people begin searching for the particular program. The next report is SEO traffic by search engine. And the reason you want to monitor this is so that you understand if something is going wrong with a particular engine. So for example, in the report that we're looking at now, we can actually see that Google traffic has dropped for a specific month. And so when that happened, you would instantly know there's something wrong with Google and not the other engines, because the other engines actually saw an increase. So that's where you just want to be mindful of monitoring this and understanding that it can actually indicate what's going really well or not well with a particular search engine, so that we can see here that in March, things started to correct a little bit, but took off in April and May. So whatever this site did in particular in those months actually started to work. So it negated what they were doing in the January, February time period. The next report is branded versus non-branded keywords. And the reason this is important is because people who are searching and coming to your website using a branded keyword, branded may not be PBS, but your particular program name. Those particular program names are your current customers, and you definitely want to see that increasing over time. But what we actually want to look for is the non-branded traffic increasing over time, because these are new incremental visitors. The next report is 404 errors, and 404 errors most people don't think about monitoring from an SEO perspective, but what we want to do is make sure that you're providing a great user experience for search engine users. Search engine users that hit your 404 page will quickly bounce back to the search engines, and that will have a negative impact and a search engine's perspective of the user experience you are providing to their customers. And so that will negatively impact your rankings over time. So what you want to do is actually make sure that you're monitoring 404 errors and ensuring that URLs that are driving traffic from a search engine do not generate a 404 error, and instead you 301 redirect them to the appropriate page on the current website. The next report are SEO rankings. And I want you to realize that these are an indicator only. They're not a key performance indicator. And this is where a lot of companies spend too much time focusing on specific rankings. And so these are definitely an indicator of success. We want to make sure that you're focusing on overall traffic from a search engine rather than specific rankings. Rankings will actually fluctuate over time throughout the day and based on geographic region. And so I think this is an important report, but most of the time this is not the report that would go up to an executive. The reports that would go to management would be things related to traffic, maybe the 404 errors potentially if they're really high and you need some buy-in to get those fixed. But this report, once you start showing it to other people in the organization, and it may fall in terms of rankings, but traffic overall may not be falling. And so this is where it often creates unnecessary flutter in the organization. And so most successful in-house SEOs, the best of class, when we see those programs, they are actually not showing this externally, but using it internally within the SEO team as an indicator of performance.